Okay, this is a video comparing two new budget-friendly portable devices that both have Bluetooth as one of their primary sales point, and they're in approximately the same price range. This is being released right now. This is in the final stages of delivery to its backers on Kickstarter, I believe, and then it will be hitting the market. So these two things will be going head to head. So I'm going to give my opinion on this real quick, or not. This could be a ramble. I don't know. These thoughts were come to in very simple form. I use the EX1000s, and they're terminated mini XLRs, you guys all know. And I was able to go 3.5 into here, also 3.5 into here, listen to the same files on both devices. And then I also was using the F9 Pros, which are not my favorite of the FiiO. I like the FH1 better, but these are very clear. They've got a lot of info in the treble, and as I just did a video about people with hearing loss, if you're over 20 years old, the part of your hearing that starts to degrade is going to be up in the treble. So I have two sets, the X1000 and the F9 Pros, that both have plenty, if not slightly too much information in the upper register, so I'm certainly not going to miss anything. Going over build quality first, the M7 is it feels like it's made for the price range that it's in. It's not impressive build compared to the more expensive stuff. However, it's not bad. It's solid. It feels like if you dropped it in any kind of a way, it wouldn't be that big a deal. Whereas the R3 has a glass back, and without a cover, I would not want to even do what I just did with this, which was drop it. So this is durable. This is, you're going to have it in your life. It's going to be bouncing around in your bag, and there really should be no issues with that whatsoever. This is all made of single shell. Yeah, cancel that. So durability wise, that these are both portable, I would give that to the M7. So that's the first little metric right there. As far as controls, I don't put a whole lot into that. This has basically got one cool thing, but it's just a visual thing, is the way that the, each step, I believe I think it can be set to 100. Somebody else did a video. I'll be doing a video for this also, so I'll see if I can go into here, go into audio, go into general, wallpaper setup, language, screen, power off, about device, wallpaper, screen. Okay, perhaps I can set the volume. I'm not seeing it right now. It's got your previous, next, play, pause buttons on the side, and it's got the power button on the top. This has got volume rocker on one side. It's got the play, pause, previous on the other side, plus the power button on the top. You've got balanced, and you've also got a 3.5 that can be selected for line out also, I believe, though I don't use line out with this device up to this point. So pretty typical standard fare when it comes to button placement or button selection. They've got basically the same things, just in different positions. This is pretty much left, right buttons. This is top, power, and then controls on one side. So in your hand, you'd be using one finger to do stuff, or two fingers. And in this, you'd be doing either one. It makes really no difference to me. I wouldn't say one is better than the other when it comes to that. Screen quality, these are both on 50% right now. So Hiby's thing is their beautiful screens. The R3 is the same as the R6 in that it's exceptional. It's absolutely just a gorgeous, beautiful. It's not oversaturated. I didn't do any tricky settings with this. It's really 50% right now. Let me see if I can actually go into that. This is a DSD, by the way. See if I can go into system settings. Would that be brightness? As you can see right there, is at 50%. I'm not really doing anything with this. to make it look better. Wouldn't do that anyway, but just in case people are saying, damn, that looks really beautiful. It really does look that beautiful. In the camera, on certain angles, it doesn't give it to you. When your eyes are on it, it doesn't do the same thing as my camera's doing. It doesn't change as I move it. It looks good this way, that way, that way, that way. The quality of the screen on the M7 is not on the same level. Most stuff isn't. I would think that this would be the best in its range price-wise and portable-wise as far as the quality of the screen. I don't know what the pixels per inch are for this. I'm sure it's available, but it's certainly more than this. Is that important? I'm a screen slut, as I've stated before, so to me, yeah, it kind of is. So that would clearly go to the R3. Now, let me take this out a video for just a second here. Put it right here. Let me give you a... Let's just consider this a wave, musical information. When people talk about dynamics, if you don't know what they're talking about, to put it supremely simple, the dynamic range, if the dynamic range were exceptional, it would be perceived to encompass the entire range of the master, and that you could hear above and below at all points. Something that was seemed to have less resolution or less dynamics would take this circle and would make it closer. It would make the sound sound less detailed, less resolving certain notes that exist in the upper region and in the lower region. And I'm talking about frequency also in relation to the amount of energy required to get to that note, whether it's an extreme bass note or a high treble note. And this is related to power. And I'm explaining this to you, and I'll give you an example for people that are into car audio and stuff. You guys know what clipping is. Let's say that this is a note at 55 hertz, and you have 15-inch subwoofers running in series, and you got an amp, and you're hitting a very heavy note, and it sounds like the sound kind of cuts out at that really extreme extension point. Now, to reach this point of this massive 55 hit that's mastered in, and also the way you've got your amp powered and crossed over, this would be exceeding the amount of power that the amplifier can put out. So when your amp or your device, whether it's these have amps in them, is trying to hit an upper note, it's got to push the driver. The power in these two devices is actually pushing the driver inside of this. So it's not your 15-inch car, but it's still a driver, and the power matching or the power requirements for this to get to that will determine the quality of the sound, how much power it has, how much power it has left, how much power it's running stable, basically RMS or running regular. When something clips, it's when the driver, let's say you've got a 15-inch subwoofer and it needs a massive extension, and it's trying to hold that. It's a big note, and it's trying to get to that, and it can't, because the amount of power required to take that driver, and because of its impedance, its power requirement, your amp is not enough to do that. It all other moments it's enough, but it shows itself when it needs to hit that massive hit at a point and at a level where it can't do it. So this would be clipping. This would be outside of the ability of the amplifier. Now, taking this and extrapolating this to musical players have amp stages on their boards, and they are enough to play the music in all of its glory, is whatever file that you've got, or it's not quite, or it's doing it in a way that sounds not as good as you've heard it before. what that would be the power in these devices and what you are playing, and whether or not it's enough for these drivers to play it cleanly. So I'm bringing this up because this has a maximum. This has a power that's I believe it's around 70 milliwatts, if I'm correct. This is more 132 roughly. These are not exact numbers, but there's clearly a sonic difference between these two devices, and it's not in the bass, it's not in the treble, it's not in the mids. Those are your drivers. I've said it before. People talking about these devices like their drivers are crazy. The drivers are what have the final influence on the music that goes in your ears. Playing music with this device sounds like sometimes it's having difficulty. It's not clipping, of course. It's not a car amplifier, and these aren't 15-inch subwoofers. But it sounds like it's not quite enough for me to dig out the detail using the Sony EX1000s on something like Life Goes On. This is a track that I think a lot of people know. Playing this track sounds absolutely fantastic on this device. On this device, it sounds good. And that all goes down to dynamics. And I'm thinking that the difference between these two devices is power. Now, if you are using Bluetooth IEMs, then I don't think that this is something that needs to concern you at all, because most Bluetooth earphones or headphones are designed to work. They've also sometimes got onboard chips with power chips on those little boards that are inside the earphones or the IEMs. So it's designed to work with less power. So on the Bluetooth side of this, I wouldn't consider it really an issue. Let me get this out of here. Oh, artist AC/DC. How the hell? Just to keep it similar visually. This has, with the Bluetooth IEMs, there's no real notable. I'm sorry for the focus going in and out. There's no real notable difference. I could make it up, but in no songs. Girls Got Rhythm, for example, am I hearing a notable difference? When I switch to 3.5 and listen with the EX1000s, there seems to be more dynamics. It sounds like this circle is bigger with this than it is with this. Now, to some people, you think, well, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and other people are going to exactly know what I'm talking about. It sounds like this is getting more of the info than this is getting. That the dynamic range, as it relates to the EX1000s, a particular set, very well known, been around for a long time. It doesn't sound as dynamic and resolving because of the psychoacoustic belief that some of the items on the top and on the bottom are maybe not quite clear, not there. It's nitpicking, but if I'm going to compare the two and I were going to wreck them, I would say that the R3 would be much better for people that go wireless and wired, whereas I would say the M7 would be more appealing for people that are really going to go Bluetooth most of the time. And it's got LDAC already. It's good to go. It's simple. It's got that, not a big deal. It's strong. It's durable. It's built to go. It's built to go now. So if you're a Bluetooth user, I would probably say the M7 would be what you want to do. If you're wired and you're Bluetooth, I would say that the R3 would clearly be the option that you should probably go for. It sounds, the signals of audio that are being put from the source and to the driver sounds complete to me. It sounds like this circle is bigger than it is with this. Now, people without, OCD, or however my brain works, maybe are not following this, but the others will. The example I gave you was about clipping. That would be the extreme upper end of a note at its full extension, and the amp is at that moment not doing anything because it can't put out that power. So there are upper and lower extremes to musical notes that happen in microseconds, and sometimes stuff can do it and sometimes stuff can't. This sounds like it can't with the EX1000s. So anything above that, that as far as needs power, I would think would follow along the same line. So this is not designed for critical listening or anything more than Bluetooth and going out and about. And this is who it's aimed at, and this is the picture in the advertisement, and it makes a lot of sense. Hiby is claiming that this is something that is more that, and also appealing to audiophiles that want to go ultra portable. And I think that they both hit their marks. They happen to be close to the same price range. So talking about vocals and whatever people are going to be talking about when this things come out more, they're talking about their drivers, because that's what it does. And if it doesn't do it enough, it's usually distortion is something that is most often caused by a lack of power, not overpower, especially in this personal hobby. It's not very often where you've got volume control, you've got low and high gain, you can easily adjust those things. People overpower their items very rarely. I've not seen many people ever come up and say, the voice coil on my driver is burnt, or something that I would see in car audio doesn't happen in this hobby. I have seen people complaining about, over ears and them not pairing with DAPs very well, and that's a lot of times that's got to do with power, and there's not quite enough power for that driver, those sets of drivers on your ears, to perform at their optimal range. The optimal performance of them is not being achieved due to the power of the device, not the DAC in the device. So the gap between these two devices would be the power output, and it is notable, it is clear, and it is the reason why, if you're going to go Bluetooth, this is ready to go, and I'd wreck it like with that set right there. And if you're going to do Bluetooth and wired, I would wreck the R3. If you were hoping for a review on this, it's coming. If you're hoping for a review on this, it's coming. But there's people that are thinking, which one should I get? I would wreck the R3 if you listen to music with, there's a cat behind me now. This is like Jurassic Park, man. There was birds yesterday. I didn't do a video. There's dogs all the time. There's a cat right outside the window. I love animals. It's no big deal. So if you're in this hobby, and you've got a collection of wired gear, I would really say that you really better go for this. If you're trying to break away from wired and you're just going for Bluetooth, I would say go for this. Personally, I'd pick this one. I think they're both nice devices, but we can't live in a world where everybody says everything's great, because I hate that. It's not true. This is a better device than this one. However, if you're going to buy this one, or you're thinking of buying this one, and you're into Bluetooth and that's the way you want to go, this is doing it. It's also got LDAC, it's also got aptX HD, and it's ready to go. And it's durable, and you can put it in your bag and not worry about it, because it is built to last. It really is a strong device, whereas I don't want to do that with this because it needs a case. So that's the comparison between the two. Again, I can't state strongly enough that when people are talking about devices and they're talking about bass, treble, mids, they're really talking about their drivers. I hope they know that, because if they don't, that's a problem. These are really digital to analog converters, and the way that the power stages are created is going to make this circle sound to your brain bigger or smaller, and that's because of the energy that's going to your drivers / transducers that are in your ear, and how efficient and how good that pairing between this and them is how good this sounds to you. the dynamic range, all of the stuff that you know is there it seems to be there, or you hear things that you don't think you've heard before, like the legend do for me, or things that you expect there seem duller or not quite there. The circle is slightly compact. I think this is slightly underpowered for wired. And that's it for the video. 20 minutes. I think I thought this was going to be 10 and it's 20. Shoot me. I don't know what to say, man. Both good devices, both affordable, but both targeted for different groups of people. And I'm out.